Karen here. Welcome, welcome. It's day 1 of our 24 days of tags for 2023. If you saw my video yesterday, I introduced the whole series. This is year 4. I am super excited to be doing it. And if you want to tag along with me, please do so. Share your makes in my Facebook group, which is called Karen Telfer Craft Creative Community, and there everybody can ooh and ah over our creations, or you can get some inspiration from other people as well. As I said yesterday, my goal here is to inspire, to help you get your mojo going during this busy festive period. So each day we'll be using different stamps and stencils, a different technique, and you can put your own spin on it. Perhaps you don't have the same products as I do, but it would be great if you used a similar sort of technique or use some of the stamps as an inspiration for your own. Each tag is the same size. It's 6.5 centimetres by 12.5 centimetres, or in inches, it's 2.25 inches by 5 inches, more or less. And then what we're going to do is, using your ruler, you're going to measure 1 centimetre in from each side. Turn your tag around, 1 centimetre down from the top and the other side. And if you're in inches, that's 3/8 of an inch. And then you're just going to snip and snip. And that is the template. So for this 24 days of tags, I've got a number of white ones, a number of that craft coloured card. There's some watercolour ones as well. So I tend to make up a good batch, and perhaps if you like one of them, you might do 2 or 3 of the same tag. But that's how we do the template. Now, today's tag is, I am using the gorgeous Sweet Poppy stamps. So I'm using this one, which is called Penguins, and I'm using some of the snowflakes from it. I'm using this one, which is called Noel, and I'm using one of those little funky snowflakes from it. And then I'm using the small winter cottage stamp. It's gorgeous. Look at that. Goes perfectly on your tag in the centre, and you can see there's my snowflakes. So the colours today: Festive Berries, Rustic Wilderness, and Tea Dye. Now that's not often a colour that I use, but I think it's quite nice because it gives it this sort of aged look. But I'm also using some Versafine Clairs. I'm using Acorn, Shady Lane, and Golden Meadow. So all of those colours work really well together. Well, I think they do, to give us this lovely tag. I am going to be blending with my smoothies, and then I have used white embossing powder to do the snowflakes. This is my favourite embossing powder. It's Wow Opaque Bright White Regular, and that gives you a lovely crisp white embossed image. So that's all the tools and colours, and we are going to get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stamp our lovely little winter cottage in the middle, and to stamp that we're going to use Acorn. I am going to use my stamp press just because it's just a bit easier. So when I know many of you have been with me for a while, but I do like to tap, tap, tap this. So I will repeat some of my previous instruction. I apologise if you've heard it before. But sometimes you might just hear something and you get it at a different way than you have before. So look at that. We've got our lovely little winter cottage stamped right in the centre of our card. Now I like to clean my stamps off straight away, and I just use water. So I've got one of these lovely spritzy bottles, and then I've got a lint-free cloth which I keep on my lap at all time. So I like to clean the stamps off as I use them, and that way I put them straight back and I know they're clean every time I want to use them. Right, so here we go. The very next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually emboss the image. So for that I'm going to use my embossing pad, my chalky pad. This has got French chalk inside it, and it just dab, dab, dab. Just make sure that any inky bits, any oily pieces that were on my fingers, the embossing powder doesn't stick to it. So I am then going to take my snowflakes. So I'm going to ink up my little snowflakes, putting just a couple of them around the image. You don't want to put too many because it is a small tag for the, oops, with the cottage on it, it fills up the tag quite a bit. So what you want is you want these lovely little snowflakes to come in at different places. There's my white. Lovely. I'm just going to make sure there's a bit of embossing powder over there. And whilst it wouldn't matter if some of that got onto my cottage, that's it. I want it to be relatively free for the most part. So I've just done 3. If you can see that, I've got one in the corner here, one which is a bit towards the edge, and this one's quite close to the image. So I'm just going to pop this away, and then we're going to heat it. Now, what you always want to do is start with a heat gun that's warmed up. So as you saw, I heated it from the back side first. That makes the embossing powder stick to the card, and whilst it's warming up even further, and then you just come onto the top and finish it off. So you've got your white little snowflakes there. Now we're going to come on and add our colour. So we've got our 3 colours here: Festive Berries, Rustic Wilderness and Tea Dye. Now I am going to apply these with my sponges, but you can choose whatever stencil brushes or blending brushes, whatever is your preference here. So I'm going to take this blending sponge. I've got a bit of copy paper here so that if I've got any ink on my fingers, it's not transferred onto my work. I'm just going to dab a bit off. I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm just going to come in. I'm moving this sponge in a circular motion here. I'm just going to come in from the edge. Now, the main point here is when you're adding colour, let's leave a little bit of white patch in the centre, because what that's going to do is make the image pop. So we're going to colour around the edge, leaving a bit of white space in the middle. So I'm just going to bring this red. We don't want it too vibrant. Over here, I might just put a little bit over here. That's it. And you can see I start off the card and then bring it onto the card. I don't pop my blending sponge right in the middle, otherwise you'll land up with a bit of a blob right in the centre. Then I'm going to bring my, I'm going to go in with my green next. That's my Rustic Wilderness. That's a slightly darker green than something like Mowed Lawn, but it's quite a nice for this sort of aged Christmas look. There we go. Again, what's happening with this sponge? Doesn't matter if you're going over the embossing. because I'm going to show you how we bring that back to a brilliant white. And we will go over the edges so that it sort of looks a bit more joined up in a moment. Now, in terms of cleaning my blending sponges, I tend to use them for a few months. And then what I'll do is I'll pop them in the washing machine. I put them in a Smalls bag in the washing machine, quick wash, and let them dry out. The thing that you will note once you start to use them, once you've washed them, is that they tend to take a little while to get sort of inked up again. So just bear that in mind. There we go. So you want, you know, a couple of patches of red, couple of patches of green, and now we're going to come in with tea dye and sort of join it all together. So you can see it sort of, it's not quite yellow, but it's not quite brown. And you're just going to join them up together. So I guess the theme for this tag here is a bit of an aged look. A little cottage in the middle of the cottage scene. You can put snowflakes on it if you like. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm pulling some of this tea dye over the other two colours so that it's starting to make it look like a holistic joined up piece as opposed to blobs. There you go. Look at that. I rather like that. Now, piece of kitchen towel, just dry kitchen towel here, and I'm just going to buff my little snowflakes. That way they'll come up a bit brighter than they were before. There you go. Love it. Look at that. So much fun and super quick. Now, on this one, I put some script. I haven't finished because actually what I did was a number of these. So let me get my other colours. I've got Shady Lane and Golden Meadow. I've picked one of my snowflakes and I'm just going to put a couple in the background. Second generation, so that it doesn't overpower the whole image. There you go. And then I'm going to take this and come in with Golden Meadow. So I really like these inks for stamping because you'll get a nice crisp image. This one I'm not using second generation because otherwise you'll lose it through the background. There we go. Look at that. I love it. As I said, on this one I put a bit of script. This one I'm going to leave it without script because I really rather like it. But these are your tags, so please feel free to do it any way you like. Okay, now to punch the hole in the top, I'm using this fantastic little toy by We Are Memory Keepers. They do some fantastic products. But I'm going to, this is called a big bite or a hole punch. Look at that. You get this two sizes of hole punch. So if I move this, you can get a smaller size if you want. And then also this fancy little gadget here which enables you to do eyelet setting, etc. So we're not going to use that today. I'm going to use the larger hole punch, and I'm just going to punch it around there. Now for my thread, I've just got about a 25cm piece of ribbon, and I keep that for most of my ribbons. Now if you're doing a thicker ribbon, then you might want it a bit longer, but 25cm gives you a reasonable. And I just looped it in half, threaded it through, and then pulled it through that way. Now if you thread it through, you see what I did? I threaded it through from the front. If you do it from the back, you get a slightly different look. So over the 24 days, you might like to do some from the front and some from the back. So there we have it. Easy as. Day 1 of our 24 days of tags for 2023. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Please feel free to post your makes in my group. Again, it's Karen Telfer Craft Creative Community on Facebook, and I'd love to see it. Bye for now.